night after his funeral, I got a text from his number. It just said, "I'm cold." My name is Amy. I'm 29, and I used to believe grief was just an emotional wound, something you could eventually heal from with time, therapy, or distraction. But that was before Tyler died, and long before he came back. Tyler was everything. We met in college, fell hard, moved in together by 24. He had this laugh, loud and clumsy, like a kid who didn't know how to hold back joy. I loved that about him. I loved everything about him. And then one rainy Tuesday afternoon, it all ended. A semi-truck ran a red light. Tyler's car was crumpled like paper. I identified his body 2 hours later. He was gone. The funeral was unbearable. His mother sobbed until her voice cracked. His brother cursed God under his breath, and I just floated through it like none of it could be real. That night, I slept in his hoodie. I kept the bedroom door shut. I didn't eat. I didn't cry. But then my phone buzzed. One new message. From Tyler. I'm cold. I stared at it for a long time. Rationality kicked in first. Some sick joke. Maybe his phone hadn't been disconnected yet. But the text came from his contact, his actual number. I called it. It rang once, then disconnected. I told myself it was a glitch. A delayed message, a system error. I deleted it and tried to forget. The next night, 2:06 a.m., another message. Why aren't you answering me? I felt something shift in my stomach. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I left the room, locked the phone in a drawer, and tried to sleep on the couch. The messages kept coming. Amy, please. It's dark here. I'm so cold. Each night at the same time, always from his number, always begging, desperate. I started dreaming about him, but it wasn't him anymore. His face was too pale, his eyes too wide. He never blinked. One night I saw a shadow move behind the bathroom curtain. I called out, "Tyler?" before I could stop myself. No answer. But when I pulled the curtain, the mirror behind me fogged up, slowly, deliberately, and I saw it written by an unseen hand, "Let me in." I wish I could say I stopped then, that I deleted the messages, smashed the phone, ran, but grief does strange things. It whispers maybe. Maybe he's not really gone. I started texting back. Where are you? Near. I asked questions only Tyler could answer, things we'd never shared with anyone. The name of the stray cat we fed behind our old apartment, the exact date we first said, "I love you." He answered everything, perfectly. But the tone shifted. Why did you let them bury me? Why didn't you come with me? I started seeing him at night, just flashes, reflections in windows, standing by the foot of my bed. Once I felt a cold breath against my ear and heard, "Don't leave me again." I begged him to stop, to let me go, but the texts kept coming. Sometimes he's quiet for days, sometimes I go weeks thinking it's over. But then, without warning, my phone lights up. "Amy, open the door." And sometimes I do, because I don't know if it's Tyler anymore, or what's left of him, or what took him. But I know this, he still wants me. And some nights I feel him right behind me, breathing, slow, angry, wrong. The phone became something I feared. Every night, exactly at 2:06 a.m., the screen lit up. Sometimes it was just his name, Tyler. Sometimes the messages came before the notification, like the cold air shifted seconds before my phone vibrated. "You're forgetting me. I'm still here." "Why did you move my picture?" That last one made me freeze. Earlier that day, I had moved a framed photo of us from the nightstand to a drawer. I couldn't bear to look at it anymore. No one else knew. No one had even been in the apartment. My hands trembled as I texted back, "How do you know that?" No reply. That was the first time I felt it, the sense that I wasn't alone, that the air itself had weight, that something stood right behind me, just out of sight. The next morning, I found the photo back on the nightstand. It was smudged, as if touched by wet, dirty fingers. I started keeping my phone in a locked drawer at night, turned off. But it didn't matter. I'd wake up to it on the floor, screen cracked, camera pointed at my face. Once I found a video, just 4 seconds long, me asleep in bed, and behind me, a shape moving across the wall. I showed it to a friend. He laughed nervously, said, I probably recorded it myself in my sleep. They all said the same things. You're grieving, you need rest, it's trauma manifesting. But none of them saw what I saw. Tyler wasn't just haunting me, he was trying to come back. I started receiving messages not just on my phone, but in other places. Sticky notes on the bathroom mirror. Let me out. Words whispered through the vents. Don't ignore me. Cold spots in the apartment, always in the same places, near his old chair, by our closet. One night I returned home to find our bedroom door closed. I hadn't touched it all day. When I opened it, the air hit me like a wall, rotten, like something wet had been trapped for weeks. On the bed, all my clothes were laid out in the exact outfit I had worn the day Tyler proposed. And then came the voice. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it, faint, crackling, coming from the baby monitor I had bought for my sister's newborn, which I was testing out for her. It wasn't a baby's voice. Amy, I remember your laugh. I dropped the toothbrush. My legs gave out. I didn't go to work the next day. I unplugged everything, threw the monitor in the trash. But that night, the messages came again. Do you still laugh like that? Do you miss me when you're with him? With him? There was no one else. I hadn't even been out of the apartment in weeks. Liar. I started checking the locks 5, 10, 15 times a night. And still, sometimes I'd wake up with my front door slightly ajar. Each morning, something small would be out of place. Drawers open, fridge light flickering, shoes moved an inch off. I began to feel like a visitor in my own life, or worse, like the house no longer belonged to me, it belonged to him, or whatever he was becoming. One night, the power went out at exactly 2:06 a.m. My phone turned on by itself, screen flashing. It wasn't a message this time, it was a live call. From Tyler, the name, the number, the ring. I didn't answer. I couldn't, but I listened. I pressed the phone to my ear and heard a long, wet breath. Then a voice hollow and furious. I'm not in the ground. Some nights now I think I hear footsteps in the attic or whispers through the sink. I no longer ask myself if this is real. I only ask how long I can keep pretending to live a normal life. Because Tyler hasn't left. He's still here, waiting, watching, and every time the clock turns 2:06, he reminds me. The thing about memory is, it lies, it softens the edges, dims the shadows, it tells you what you need to remember, not always what actually happened. After the 3rd week of Tyler's messages, I started digging through old journals, voice notes, photos. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd find something, some reason why this was happening, why he was still here, and I found it, not in words, in silence. There were moments in our relationship I had buried, nights when Tyler's eyes looked distant. Not like someone lost in thought, but someone lost somewhere else entirely. I remembered waking once to find him standing over me, completely still. I'd whispered his name. He hadn't answered, just turned and walked out of the room. That was a year before he died. One journal entry stood out. Tyler's been talking in his sleep again, keeps whispering my name over and over. Last night he said, "Don't leave me underground." Freaked me out. I told him, he just laughed, said he didn't remember. But he did remember, because that same phrase came through in a message last night, "Don't leave me underground." And this time it was followed by another, "You promised." I don't remember promising anything, but maybe I did. I visited his grave the next morning. I didn't bring flowers, just questions. It was quiet except for wind dragging dead leaves across the stones. His headstone was simple. Tyler James Harper, 1992 to 2024. Loving son, devoted partner. I sat beside it for hours, no birds, no breeze, just the sense of something listening. I spoke aloud. "What do you want?" The wind kicked up suddenly, sharp and cold. My phone buzzed. You. That night, the dreams were worse. I saw Tyler lying in his casket, eyes open, mouth moving, but no sound came out. Then, suddenly, I was inside the casket with him. His hand gripped mine, his nails were broken, his skin peeling, and he whispered, "You said we'd never be apart." I woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. My hand throbbed. I looked down, scratches, deep, across my palm. I started researching near-death rituals, spirit attachments. I found a thread on an old occult forum. Sometimes love anchors the dead. They don't know they've passed, or they refuse to accept it, especially if a promise was made before death. A vow. A vow. That word hit me hard, because I remembered now, clear as day, sitting in Tyler's car just 2 weeks before the accident. He was anxious, talking about fear of losing me, and I had said, nothing can separate us. Not even death. His voice had cracked when he repeated it back. Not even death. Was that it? Had I spoken something into existence? Had my love cursed him to linger? I didn't know what to believe anymore. But I knew one thing. Tyler wasn't just haunting me. He was angry, and growing stronger. That night I heard him, not in a dream, not in my head, but in the apartment, walking, breathing. He whispered from the hallway, "I don't want to rest." And in the mirror behind my own reflection, something else moved. A face. Tyler's, twisted, wrong, not the man I loved. Something else now wears his shape. I returned to the cemetery. This time I didn't go to cry. I went to confront him. It was just past midnight. Cold. Fog crept through the grass like fingers. I brought a flashlight, a recorder, and a piece of his old hoodie, the one I had slept in the night he died. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still thought it would calm him, or lure him. Tyler's grave looked different. Not the stone, the earth. The grass was burned in a perfect circle around the headstone, like something had scorched its way up from below. I crouched, my fingers brushed the dirt. Warm. I yanked my hand back. That's not possible. The ground should be cold. Dead. I placed the hoodie on the headstone and turned on the recorder. I asked one question. "What do you want from me?" Silence. Then static. And beneath it, a sound like whispering through broken teeth. I played it back. "Amy, open the door." I nearly dropped the recorder, but it wasn't just the voice that scared me, it was the sound behind it, scratching, like nails against wood. Suddenly I noticed something behind the grave, small wooden stakes driven into the ground, tied with red thread, 5 of them, forming a circle. I didn't put them there, I touched one. The thread snapped instantly, the wind changed, and that's when I heard it, from beneath the ground, knocking, slow, hollow, rhythmic. He was knocking from inside his grave. I ran all the way home, but I wasn't alone anymore. That night, the lights flickered. My phone turned itself on. Every mirror in the apartment cracked at exactly the same time, not shattered, just a thin spiderweb line across the center of each, like something had pressed through. And then came the voice. This time, not from the phone, not from the walls, but from the closet. I waited. "Why did you bury me? Why won't you let me out?" I screamed, shoved a chair against the door, backed away. My phone buzzed. One new message. "You brought me back. You said the words. I thought I could fix this. That if I understood what was happening, I could undo it, but Tyler isn't a memory anymore. He's presence, he's pressure in the air, shadow in the corner, breath on my neck when I sleep, and whatever I awoke, it isn't resting." The last thing I remember that night was falling asleep out of sheer exhaustion on the living room floor. I woke up in bed. The hoodie I left at the cemetery, folded neatly on my chest, and pinned to it, scratched into a slip of paper with something sharp. Soon. I tried to ignore it. I stopped checking the messages, covered every mirror, slept with the lights on, but evil doesn't need darkness. It just needs permission. 3 nights ago, I received the final message. "Tonight, we finish what you started." I didn't know what that meant. I didn't want to know. But part of me, the part still whispering, "What if?" It got out of bed. It opened the closet, and there he stood. Not Tyler, the shape of him. The face almost his, but too long, too pale. Eyes too wide. Lips cracked open in a smile that never moved. "Amy, you said not even death." My breath caught in my throat. "You promised me forever. I came back for it." I ran. Out of the apartment. Into the street. No shoes, no phone, just cold air biting at my lungs. He followed, not in footsteps, in flickering streetlights, in dead leaves rising with no wind, in the sound of my own voice whispering, "Don't leave me," even when my mouth was shut. I found myself back at the cemetery. Something pulled me there, or maybe I had nowhere else to go. The grave was open, not freshly dug, just gone. Dirt scattered, coffin shattered, like something had clawed its way out from below. I fell to my knees, and he was behind me. One last time. His voice wasn't loud, it didn't need to be. I turned, he reached for me. His hand, brittle, frostbitten, touched my face. And suddenly I saw it. Not just him, but us. Moments I'd forgotten. His smile, our fights. The night I almost left him. The night I stayed. That cursed vow. Not even death. I had pulled him back, with love, with grief, with guilt. I whispered, "I'm sorry." And then, for the first time since it all began, I stopped being afraid. I stepped toward him and kissed his forehead. "I release you." The world cracked. Not loudly, more like glass settling in slow pressure. The wind stopped, the air warmed, and he was gone. It's been 6 days. No more texts, no more knocking, no more voices, just silence. But sometimes, when I walk past the closet, my phone lights up. No number. Just a single word. Almost. Because maybe I did end it. Or maybe he's waiting for me to break again. I still wear his ring on a chain around my neck. Not out of love, out of warning. Because if you say the wrong words to the right ghost, love doesn't die. It waits.